Good afternoon on what is a mild, bright but blustery day. It is Sunday the 21st of September. I'm in the reading Nook with a nice hot cup of tea. And a box to continue unboxing. And what I'm going to pull out of here is a copy of Sludge, the 60th anniversary. And this is from the pages of Lion. And it's published via the Treasury of British Comics, which is an imprint of Rebellion. Rebellion being best known for as the publisher, of course, of 2000 AD. But over the years, it has bought up a lot of the British publishers of comics and their archives. And it has slowly been going through those archives, not just reprinting the content that appeared in the pages of 2000 AD, although that, of course, is very welcome, but also going through older comics from the 60s, 70s and 80s that appeared on the shelves of our news agents and delighted children and teenagers everywhere. And this would have included Sludge and the readers of Lion, a comic that I was sort of dimly aware of as a child, but didn't read very much. I would have read issues of comics like that when my cousins had them. So I'd actually never heard of the Sludge, I have to be honest. But I have an interest in reading these things, partly because it's actually nostalgia, or fascinating to see what other things were about when when I was much younger and missed. So it came from the depths. A strange and terrible living jelly-like creature born at the bottom of the sea has risen with the sole intention of menacing mankind. The product of atomic bomb tests, the huge monster known as the Sludge can control anything it touches and covers with its own substance. When the indestructible behemoth reaches Canada, two plucky journalists, Bill Hanley and Rick Slade, follow in its destructive path and seek a way to stop the Sludge once and for all. Created in 1965 for Lion comic, the Sludge would return several times after its first story, most notably as an anniversary for Robot Archie. And there you've got Robot Archie. Okay, there, another character that appeared in Lion. And again, there are collected volumes of his stories as well, which I'd like to read. So, we've got the credits page and an opening piece there. So it's a shot there of the Sludge walking, under the sea, on the floor, on the seabed. And a shot there, sort of like just showing you some of the fantastic artwork you're going to see in here. And it is very typical of its period. It's quite dark, it's quite heavy, and this kind of story is one that really comes out of the atomic bomb tests of the 50s, with a lot of the B movies, like It Came From Beneath the Sea, and it's like, which would turn monsters, giant, like for example, It Came From Beneath the Seas is one where the giant octopus or squid menaces San Francisco, and there's a famous shot of it essentially crushing the Golden Gate Bridge, if I recall correctly, with its 6 tentacles. Yeah, 6, not 8. Budget cuts, as it were. So you can see the artwork is really dark, but it's effective. It's really conveying its sense of adventure. And of course, with these things, the British comic was very much an anthology of stories with numerous characters. So you would pick an issue up and then tune in, basically go pick an issue up, read it, and then come back the next week to get it off the shelf for the next month and so on. Typically weekly, actually, to catch up. And so an episode essentially is really just sort of like 1, 2. I mean, in this instance, literally just 2 pages, and that means that stories have got to be kind of carry a bit of weight and convey a lot of story, a narrative within those 2 pages. And in some ways, this is more like sort of like the comic book equivalent of a newspaper strip, which is really only 4 or 5 panels, say 8 panels, for example, with an adventure strip. But it's got to do this on a much larger format, and that gives it a lot more scope, of course. So yeah, I mean, fantastic artwork. Essentially, you know, science fiction horror story against the perils of the atomic age. And here we actually switch to a rare occurrence. So we've got stories of the Sludge up to this point, and then we get to the return of the Sludge, and it's in colour. And in general, these stories, and this is a much longer story, and actually the panels are much larger. Yeah, so in general, these stories weren't told in colour. They were told in black and white. Then we've got to start with a new story for the Sludge, because, you know, it was expensive to do colour, and typically you really only would have the cover in colour, and you might have something inside, you know, the centre spread in colour. And that would be quite an important feature of the comic, because, you know, that had to have impact and catch the reader's attention. So putting it, you know, not just because it was in colour, but colour added to that. So you've got multiple stories, sort of episodes of ongoing stories here, and then you have, really, I'm sure if I missed the start of it. I mean, this is actually not just, I mean, one of the things I missed here is the fact that this is now Robot Archie versus the Sludge. This is, you know, essentially a superhero character, Robot Archie, fighting the Sludge, a metal man against a walking behemoth of possessive, controlling powers. And there it's back. We've actually got, I mean, you know, basically continuing. You've got the different kind of header there for Robot Archie, you know, kind of a robot style, clunky mechanical font. And Robot Archie's not someone I'm actually familiar with from my comic book reading days. It would have predated that. But again, there are collections out there now, I believe. So at the back of it, and one of the nice things about these collections is it does go back through the archives and goes, okay, you know, they're not exact reproductions in the sense, essentially they're not sort of laid out in order with everything alongside or anything. The stories are in order, of course, but you know, they include at the back things like the covers, the front covers. And there we've actually got Robot Archie versus the Sludge. There we go. Just a couple of colour covers over its time. You've got the author's bibliography, and again artists as well. And then you've got an advert there for Robot Archie, World of the Future, again drawn by the same team actually as the Sludge. And we've got some fantastic artwork to bring the book to a close. I think it's a great book. I think basically it's really nice to see that in print and let people, you know, discover an artifact, you know, a story from from the 60s, and see what stories were being told back then. I mean, admittedly from a fairly obscure part of British culture, I suppose. You know, that there were, alongside at the time, what would have been an awful lot of war comics, because they were very popular. Because, you know, when this came out in 1965, World War II had only been over for 20 years, so it was strong in the British consciousness, and you know, and in the culture, and that would have filtered through to the comics and the artists who were drawing them and so on, and the readership. So interesting to see a sort of science fiction kind of horror story alongside those as well. Well, thanks for watching another unboxing in the Nook. If you enjoyed this, then please do click on the like button down below, and if you've got any comments or feedback, I do appreciate you taking the time to post those. And lastly, if you want to be alerted to get more unboxings in the Nook, where you'll see me out here with a box, typically containing a role-playing game, supplement or scenario, or in this case, a collected comic book series from the 1960s, which I will then unbox and chat about to the best extent of my knowledge for roughly 10 minutes or so, or of course accompanied by a nice hot cup of tea. Then please do click on the subscribe button down below. Thanks again for watching another unboxing in the Nook. I will be back again soon with another one. Bye for now.